There we go. Now we're making progress. No pun intended. Shout out my boy Kevin.
What is up YouTube, Crafting Cars here, happy Tuesday. Now, for today's video, we're going to be installing an aftermarket rear sway bar on our 97 Honda Civic project car, and we're going to be breaking it down step by step, so hopefully this video can help you out if you're looking to make the same modification to your car. I decided to go with the Progress Tech rear sway bar kit. I like this kit because it comes with the rear subframe brace as well as all the hardware you're going to need. It's priced right at around $300. I purchased mine off of HBT Autosport, which I've had really good luck with that website. They ship fast and usually have everything in stock. So I'll go ahead and leave a link where I got this down in the description below. As far as the tools we're going to need today, we got a standard 3/8 torque wrench, 3/8 ratchet. You're going to want to grab a 17mm, 14mm, and 12mm wrench with corresponding socket, as well as a 5mm Allen wrench, and a tape measure. Tape measure. So, as you may have guessed, to give us better access to the rear end of the car, you're going to want to jack up the rear, set it down on some jack stands, and block up the front tires for added safety. Next, we're going to remove these two 17mm bolts that attach the lower control arm to the rear subframe. I would recommend, especially if you're working underneath your daily driver, to throw on some safety glasses. I know before I clean this thing up, anytime I worked underneath this car, there would always be crap falling in my eyes, so yeah, not a bad idea. Next step is to loosely mount the rear subframe brace. So we're going to grab the two longest bolts, the only two big washers, and the two long spacers, as well as the brace. For these bolts, we're going to use the 14mm. So the mounting order here goes bolt, washer, then we place it through the lower hole on the bracket, then slide the spacer on, and then into the subframe. Now you're just going to line it up and loosely start threading it in place. We'll just snug it up like that for now. Do the same thing on the other side. Alright, it's good for now. So now we're going to mount the bushings and the D brackets onto the sway bar itself. Now these bushings just pop right out and they split in half for easy assembly. So you're going to want to take this little packet of grease here, lube up the inside of the bushings. They give you quite a bit, so don't be shy. Now you're going to want to slide it over the sway bar on the outside of the locating ring here. And then the D bracket just slides over that. Do the same thing to the other side here. Alright, time to head back underneath the car. Grab your sway bar, the rest of your M8 bolts, lock nuts, washers, your spacers, and then your ratchet, 12mm spanner, and socket. So the mounting order here is your medium size M8, your washer. That's going to go through the sway bar D bracket there. Then it's going to go through this hole. Then you're going to want to take your spacer, put it on the back side of the subframe brace. There, stay. Fish this through. Now when you reach up in this pocket in the rear subframe, I can feel the end of the bolt we just put in. You're going to want to slide on your washer. And get your lock nut started. Now that I got it started, I'll go in with the box end of this wrench to hold that nut steady while I turn the socket on this side. This bottom hole will be easier, at least we can see what we're doing. So it's going to be the smaller M8 bolt, washer, start going through the hole, grab your next washer, and then grab the nut. Now we'll snug this down the same way, get our box end wrench on one side, and start ratcheting it down. Just till it's snug, we're not tightening anything down permanently yet. I know it was hard to see, so here's a better look at those two bolts we just put in. You can see the back side of that one. And if you look up in that pocket there, you can see the top bolt as well. Now we'll do the same thing to the other side. So now that the sway bar is kind of loosely held in place, we can go ahead, pull this bolt back out
Not so far that the spacer falls out, but just far enough where we can slide this lower control arm back into place. Now you might have to kind of tilt the wheel back a little bit, depending on how much camber you're running. Get it to kind of sneak that bolt back in. Probably gonna take a couple tries. Don't kick your tire too hard, otherwise you might kick your car right off the jack stands, but shouldn't take much. Start it going just like that. Now we'll just snug this bolt up a little bit. We're not torquing it to spec quite yet. And of course, we're gonna do the same exact thing on the other side.
Now we'll put our sway bar end links together. You can see they just easily thread right into each other like that. Now you're looking for a center to center distance of 3 inches and 3/8. That's about right there. Now we're pretty close right there. Yep. Now we'll head back underneath the car with our sway bar end links, our 5mm Allen wrench, 17mm wrench, and 14mm wrench. So the end link here is going to mount up with the threaded side facing upwards. So it goes on the back side, or I suppose on the lower control arm side towards the front of the car. I'm going to go ahead and put it in the middle hole on the sway bar here. That's supposed to be medium stiffness. Go ahead and put our little nut on there. Now, you'll notice on my lower control arms, I have threaded holes. I believe on the factory lower control arms, you just have a regular hole with no threads or anything like that. So for mine, to get it through the hole, I think I'm gonna choose the lower hole here. That seems to give me the best angle. Basically gotta line it up, take my 5mm Allen wrench, stick it in the stud there, make sure I'm straight, and then start to turn. It's pretty hard to turn these ball joints, so I might have to go this way. Again, if you had the OEM style, all you would have to do is stick the stud through and put the nut on, just like we did on the top here. But give me a second to get this stud threaded all the way in. And there it is, threaded all the way through. I am still gonna go ahead and put the nut on there. And now we'll go do the other side. Now that we got our end links in place, we can go ahead and use our 17mm wrench to tighten up our jam nuts. All right guys, we're getting close now. Go ahead and grab your 14mm wrench, 5mm Allen wrench, and torque wrench, load it up with a 14mm socket. It's time to start tightening everything up and doing the final torques. So for every one of these flange bolts, you're gonna wanna make sure you get them as tight as you can first with just a regular wrench here. Just make sure that they're not gonna spin on you when you go in for the final torque. And you're gonna come in with your torque wrench and your 14mm socket and torque these flange bolts down to 40 foot-pounds. Just like that. For this flange bolt, my exhaust is getting in the way, so I'm gonna have to grab a shallower socket. There we go. Now you're gonna wanna grab a 12mm socket, and we're gonna torque down these D-bracket bolts to 28 foot-pounds. And you may have to grab your 12mm spanner just to hold the nut on the backside again. Now we only have 2 more bolts to torque down, and those are going to be those long lower control arm bolts. Now I want to wait till the car is on the ground first before we torque those down. Reason being is because they go through the rubber bushings on the lower control arm, and I don't want to pinch those bushings and then have them maybe like twist and tear when I lower the car back down on the ground. Just really don't want to risk it. So we'll put the car down on the ground first. That way the bushings inside there are able to rotate, and then we'll finally tighten up those bolts, kind of pinching everything together once it's, under load and everything. And yeah, we'll get them finally torqued down. I should still be able to fit underneath the car, hopefully. So yeah, we will see. Oh yeah, I should still fit. Yeah. All right, these last ones are 40 foot-pounds. There we go. Now we're making progress. No pun intended.
Shout out my boy Kevin. There. Whew. All right, now I'll perform a sound test. Listen closely for any squeaks and or rattles. Sounds nice and quiet to me. Now, if we didn't properly lube our bushings, you'd definitely get some squeaking sounds from those things. And then if something came loose when we put the load back on the ground, we definitely hear knocking noises from the hardware, but everything sounds good. Alright guys, so that's going to do it for today's video. I try to get as many details in there as possible, but as always, if you have any questions, feel free to leave them in the comments down below. I'd be happy to answer them. If you want, you can go ahead and follow me on Instagram. I'm at afton.voigt.ej8. Trying to get to 1,000 followers, and we're getting pretty close to 3,000 subscribers here on YouTube, so that's pretty exciting. I'm going to try to do a giveaway. I want to do a giveaway at 2,000, but we blew past that way faster than I was expecting. As far as content coming up here, I've been pretty busy lately. If you guys remember with the whole incident where my CRV got totaled out like almost 3 months ago, I'm finally wrapping that up with insurance, and I'm actually getting my totaled car back. So I might be picking up another CRV pretty soon here. I'm trying to get together, you know, as much insurance money as I can, as well as part out my old totaled car. So yeah, you might be seeing that next Tuesday. Kind of stoked for that. Yeah, on top of that, I'm not so sure what Gideon's doing on his RX-7 right now, but I'm sure there's going to be an update coming soon. If you guys remember Gideon's white RX-7, that old shell, it's an abandoned shell that's kind of sitting down in a storage lot right now. I might be turning that into a drift car. I've kind of got the itch to start, you know, piecing together something I can slide around. And they don't make creams for that itch, so we'll see how that goes. Oh, Brainerd, it's coming up. Proving Grounds 2, that's coming up pretty soon here. I think September 9th through 11th. I'm not sure if I'll be taking the Civic there. I don't really want to break this thing. I might though, we'll see. My buddy's got an Airbnb up there, so I might be staying up there. It would be cool to circuit race and drag race the Civic. Of course, I wouldn't really beat on it too hard because I don't want to blow up my tranny or anything like that, but I am looking forward to that. That's coming up pretty soon as well for you guys. So once again, thank you for tuning in to Crafting Cars, and I will see you next Tuesday. Bye!